What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today I want to talk about that new Pecharunt we saw the other day. You see, I've shown you about Shrouded Fable, the new Pokémon TCG set, which is coming out in August. And it's going to be legal for the World Championships. And I'm going to mention this pretty much every time because it's incredibly relevant. Here's the thing, though. There is a new Pecharunt. We've actually not seen it in Japanese yet. We assume that it's going to be in Night Wanderer, but we don't actually know for a fact whether it will be or not. Here's the thing, though. We've actually seen two different prints of it. We've got the regular print, as in not an illustration rare, which is coming in the free pack blister. And then we've got the fancy print, the illustration rare, which is coming as the Elite Trainer Box promo. And obviously, usual deal, if you buy the Pokemon Center exclusive, you will therefore get 2 copies of the promo, 1 regular, 1 stamped. The thing is, this is a card we didn't get a chance to talk about too much because we had a lot to cover in that video. Yeah, we were talking about the set. But I've been cooking over the past day or so with this card. And it actually lets you deal 100 damage turn 1 going first moderately easily. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to work perfectly every turn or anything stupid like that. No. I am saying it is a legitimate option rather than a will work once every 100 games ridiculous long shot. And the thing is, you can't attack turn 1 going first. The game is not set up at the moment for turn 1 going first wins. Pecharunt comes around as an exception, and it's all for the ability Toxic Subjugation. Yes, the attack Poison Chain, 10 damage, and they can't retreat and they're poisoned. You can't do that turn 1 going first. You're not allowed to attack turn 1 going first. But abilities absolutely work. And it says, as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, put 5 more damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon during Pokemon Checkup. So all we need then is a way to poison your opponent's active Pokemon, and they will take 6 damage counters, and we're going to up that in a minute, alright? But they're going to take 6 damage counters during Pokemon Checkup. That means your turn will end, and before they start their turn, their active Pokemon will take 6 damage counters. You ready for this? Brute Bonnet. Brute Bonnet, if it's got an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached, lets you poison both active Pokemon. Cool. Well, now you've poisoned your opponent's active. They're taking 10 damage, except Pecharunt's in the active, so they're not taking 10 damage, they're taking 60 damage, or to put it more simply, 6 damage counters. Yes, I know there are things around that will stop special conditions. We got stadiums that will stop special conditions. But the point I'm making here is that if you go first, this works. Straight off the bat. And your opponent hasn't had a turn. So there's no, well, hang on a second, Wassy. Why don't they just play a stadium that stops special conditions? Yeah, go on then, mate. Try it. There absolutely are ways to get around special conditions. Not claiming for a second that there aren't. But I am claiming that if I go first on my first turn, and my opponent literally hasn't had a turn yet, well, they definitely haven't played a stadium, and they probably haven't got those Pokemon to get around them, etc. And that's kind of my point here. As a side note here, obviously, it's that new Festival Ground Stadium I'm talking about, the one that stops special conditions, but of course, you need an energy attached anyway. It's just not going to work, is where I'm going with this. It's just not going to work. Okay. Now, I promised you 100 damage turn 1 going first, and I'm a little bit of a horrible person, I'm a bit of a liar, right? I've only actually given you 60. How do we get the rest? Well, how we get the rest is a combination of the Stadium Perilous Jungle and the Radiant Pokemon Radiant Hisuian Sneasler that I personally don't like very much because that thing creeps me out. But both of those will up the amount of damage counters taken for poison during Pokemon Checkup by 2. Now, as a side note, remember, if you're using Brute Bonnet, you do poison yourself as well, and Perilous Jungle will affect you as well as your opponent. So you will take extra poison damage. Sorry, but that's just the way it is, right? you'll be taking 30 damage from poison. The thing you can do to get around it is poison with something else in the active, and then get Pecharunt in the active before the end of your turn, at which point your new active Pokemon won't be poisoned because Brute Bonnet won't have done that, and that is a way around it. It's awkward and it's not always going to work, but that is one option that you've got here to try and get around that. It's not perfect, will work sometimes. Well, what we're talking about here is 3 Pokemon, Brute Bonnet, Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, and Pecharunt, a Stadium in Perilous Jungle, and a tool in terms of Future Booster Energy Capsule. Now, I'm not saying that that is absolutely perfect, or the easiest thing in the world to pull off, but I am telling you it is absolutely possible. Now, one of the issues you've got here is, well, hang on a second, turn 1, going first, I can't use a supporter card, I've got to do all this without using a supporter. Well, actually, you can use a supporter as long as that supporter is Carmine. Carmine lets you discard your hand and draw 5 cards, and you can use it on your first turn going first. So you actually can, now it's not the best supporter ever, because you can use it turn 1 going first, but you can use Carmine here. And then you've also got stuff you can use, like, for instance, Squawkabilly. Now, I know with Squawkabilly we're getting up to 4 Pokemon now, and we don't necessarily want to completely fill our bench just for the chance of donking, but then again, if you've got a situation where your opponent has got a 100 HP or less Pokemon in the active, such that you can win with this, then it's absolutely worth overextending. And if your opponent's got 2 basic Pokemon EXs out, maybe you don't fill your bench with support Pokemon trying to pull off the turn 100 damage. You just go, nah, you know what? We'll leave it for now. Because one other option you've got, of course, is Luminion, who will search out your Carmine, so play 1 Carmine, 1 Luminion, and then, again, you know, you're talking Pecharunt, Hisuian Sneasler, your Brute Bonnet, and then Squawkabilly and Luminion. That's 5 Pokemon. Still, incidentally, leaves you with a bench space, but it is getting a little bit annoying. And then, of course, you've got 2 weaker 2-prize Pokemon sitting on the bench. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I am saying that this is not some ridiculous scenario. This is you can draw 5 cards with Carmine. You can draw 6 cards with Squawkabilly. And then, of course, there are some other options. Trekking Shoes actually becomes a really nice option here. Look at the top card of your deck. You can either put it into your hand or discard it and draw a card. That essentially lets you get something you need from the top 2 cards of your deck. So playing 4 of them with Squawkabilly, with Carmine, you can legitimately be drawing a lot of cards. I mean, best case scenario, and that's a lot, but best case scenario, 19 cards. 6 from Squawkabilly, 5 from Carmine, 8 from Trekking Shoes. Yes, I know Trekking Shoes doesn't technically draw 8 cards, but it lets you get what you need from the top 2 cards 4 times. It's not actually drawing 8 cards, alright? I know this, but my point is, it lets you look at 8 cards and get 4 of them to massively increase the chance of drawing what you need. And we don't have anything like this in the game right now. Turn 1 going first wins aren't really a thing. And Pokemon don't want them to be a thing. Like we've seen from card bans over the past few years. We've seen from card design that Pokemon don't want turn 1 going first wins. But I'm telling you, Toxic Subjugation will get you there. 3 basic Pokemon, a tool and a stadium, and you poison your opponent's active, and they take 10 damage counters. The wording is really important here, because Radiant Hisuian Sneasler puts 2 more. Perilous Jungle puts 2 more. Pecharunt puts 5 more. If it was Radiant Hisuian Sneasler said, put 3 damage counters, i.e. a total, and Perilous Jungle said put 3, and Pecharunt said put 6, then it would be locked at 6, at the highest number. But that's not what it says. Each of these cards says put more damage, so you get the 1 basic, the 2 with Sneasler, the 2 with Perilous Jungle, the 5 with Pecharunt, and that adds up to 10 damage counters for poison, turn 1, going first, and we've got draw options that can make it happen. Now, at this point, I do what I always do, and I go, right, this is a gimmick, okay? You will win games with this, but it is a gimmick. Sure, sometimes it's going to work. It's not going to work all the time. But that's not actually the end of the world, because we've got Okie Dokie in this set. And Okie Dokie, for 3 energy, 2 darkness, 1 colourless, does 260 if this Pokemon is poisoned. But of course, it's 260 plus all the poison damage. And remember, for the Donk, we're already building for poison damage. We're already building a deck to maximise poison damage. So Crazy Chain comes in doing, well, 260 without poison, up to 360 with, which incidentally will one-hit KO literally anything, and you've got a legit attacker. And of course, we got a reprint of Dark Patch in Astral Radiance, so you can accelerate that darkness energy, and actually, yeah, we're doing alright here. Because we want to be discarding lots in the early game potentially with stuff like Carmine or, stuff like Squawkabilly. We'll get some energy in a discard and then they're going to turn on your Dark Patch. There's no reason why you can't bench an Okie Dokie here and just essentially be Dark Patching onto that while you're trying to build up this poison damage. And then maybe you get the Donk, but even if not, you got Okie Dokie ready to go turn 2 potentially, because you're building a very aggressive deck that draws a lot of cards. And as a side note, one card I haven't mentioned, but I do think needs to be mentioned here, Secret Box. Secret Box is so good here. Secret Box is absolutely wonderful because you discard 3 cards from your hand, but again, the discarding is not the end of the world. We're going super aggressive, we want darkness in the discard, etc. And then you get to search your deck for an item card, which could be something like Trekking Shoes or could be Pokemon Search to get one of your Pokemon. A Pokemon Tool, which is obviously going to be your Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. A Supporter card, which is obviously going to be Carmine, because it's the only one you can use turn 1. And a Stadium. Yeah, again, you're not always going to hit this turn 1, okay? But if you do hit this turn 1, that'll get your Stage and your Tool, as well as getting you, Carmine for drawing cards, and either Pokemon Search or Trekking Shoes. I mean, yeah. That seems pretty good too. We've got enough draw that can be used turn 1 going first. Oh, actually, you know what else I've already forgotten to mention? Silly me. And this only works with Luminion, alright? But if you're playing Luminion anyway to go and get Carmine, you know what else you might want to have a bit of a play around with? Since we're talking about tools, Forest Seal Stone, which can be used turn 1 going first to go and get any card out of your deck. Now, this you would basically have to pair with Luminium because it needs to be attached to a Pokemon V in order to use the V-Star power. But it would then let you use Star Alchemy. So if you happen to draw into Forest Seal Stone after using someone like a Carmine, you could go and search any card you like. I'm not saying you have to go hyper-aggressively to make this work. But I'm saying we've got a card pool that will allow us to do that if you want to, and an attack that will allow us to do enough poison damage to pull it off. And then we've got Okie Dokie kind of chilling in the back, willing to help out if you need him. I'm saying right now, this is something I am testing so much for the Worlds format. Maybe it's too gimmicky. Maybe it doesn't have the mid to late game. Maybe the chance of donking isn't as high as I'm hoping it's going to be. But I'm telling you right now, this has got to be worth a test. And I'm the guy that's going to be testing it. I think there's a decent chance I'm not the only one. For now, I want to know if you think this is going to work. I want to know if you're excited about this. I want to know anything you want to tell me. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely It's a Coaster, who's been supporting us for a while, is one of the most active people on our Discord, and seems to be an incredibly lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.